something that we found was appropriate to require in this instance, but I wanted to highlight that it is in the ordinance, and if the commission feels that a strict interpretation of that is appropriate, that's something that is up for your consideration. I don't recommend that, but I just wanted to highlight that. Moving on down to the pedestrian pathways and sidewalks. This is something we talked a lot about last time, and we've been working with the township engineer, looking into the ordinance, looking into what specifically is required for this site. And I guess to back up even beyond what discussions we had with the engineer in terms of construction specifications for pathways, I want to be a bit more clear than I was at the last meeting about why this is required here. We talked a lot about if there should be a requirement for installation at this time, or if a deferment was more appropriate, given that there aren't connections at this time for these pathways to tie into. But I think the discussion last time started leaning into, well, are the pathways even required at all? And I want to be clear that the master plan and the overlay district are very clear that they are a requirement. The township has been planning for safety paths along these two corridors for many years, and the ordinance supports that. When we were talking to the township engineer, more of the question was, what do they need to look like? Is it going to be a 5-foot concrete, 8-foot asphalt? And what we found actually outside of the zoning ordinance is within the general code for the township, there is already a safety path construction specification section that outlines all of these things. This was missed by us last time, and so I do apologize for that, for creating any confusion there. But we do have that to lean on, and in your packet, the applicant did submit a proposed layout for these safety paths. Obviously, it's sort of hand-drawn and not part of the official site plan, as you can see, but the engineer did review those and has comments on that. And what our recommendation is that we wanted to bring this back to you. We didn't want to continue to hold the applicant up, waiting until the next month to go back and forth on something that's really actually very specific in the ordinance, which is those construction specifications. So as such, in my recommendation, you'll see that we recommend conditional approval on the condition, one of the items being that the sidewalk plans are formalized, resubmitted, and administratively approved. This is something, so this is a proposed procedure so that the applicant's engineer can work directly with the township engineer. It's really more of a technical question at this point and less of a discretionary decision. And you're welcome to go against my recommendation, but that's sort of where we're at right now. If you feel strongly about wanting to see the final layout of that safety path on the plans before you decide, that is up to you. But again, we think that this is something that can be approved administratively following the tree. Any questions on that before I keep going through?
Just a quick question since we're still on sidewalks.
No.
So I guess like on the proposed path of where this is heading, I got the 8-foot path that is heading east across the road to the plaza. There's nothing crossing going north. We just recently approved Trilogy for an 8-foot pathway that is like not even a quarter mile north directly from this path. And I'm kind of looking at like it'd be silly not to be pointing that in that direction. And then also figuring out, talking about the widths, I don't think I've even seen a 6-foot wide sidewalk in Holly, right? So,
Yeah. So in your packet is the engineer's review. He
Okay.
is more into the specifications, and again, we will be requiring some revisions to what's presented here. So,
because I feel like on development, you're gonna have development of the sidewalk on the north side of Grange Hall Road first. We're much closer to being there, right? You know, and then so there's gonna have to be an access heading that direction. But, you know, it's more important than I think the north-south pathway, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so,
But-
and that's a great point. The landing pad, you know, for that crossing going north over Grange Hall.
Right.
Part of why that isn't proposed, and it's actually not something we require at this time, is because once you get into the road right away, the road commission for Oakland County, we're getting into their jurisdiction.
Right.
And they do not allow crossings if there's no landing pad on the other side of the road. So even the one going west over Fish Lake, it may be that the sidewalk just literally covers these frontages and does not have the landing pads
Right.
that tie into the road, because they don't want folks thinking, well, I can go across this and there's nothing to officially cross into. Now, it may seem like, well, why are we requiring sidewalks that aren't able to cross the road and aren't able to
And
connect?
pointing the wrong direction.
Right, and when eventually the rest of this network is built up, and,
We'll break it up and do it again.
well, they won't break it up, but they can at that time construct those landing pads.
Okay.
And so, for example, the site directly to the north, Lamont Farms,
Mhm.
does have an approved site plan on file that does require
Sidewalks, right.
Yes.
I feel like that'd be
So-
a connection for sure.
And, you know, because this is a signaled intersection, the road commission
Mhm.
is likely to require a pedestrian signal
Mhm.
installation as well. And so that's something that, these are more of the details that we've been working on with the township engineer, trying to understand what does that process look like? At what point does the township itself get involved in terms of building this infrastructure, and what does that look like? And so, again, the requirement to install the pathways is really clear. It's more of a question of how and what specifically does that look like at this point. And so,
Okay.
my recommendation is that we do require the installation now. There is a
Yeah.
pathway laid out, a procedure in the ordinance that would allow the applicant to, instead deposit funds to the township. It would be the same cost as what would it cost to install the sidewalks today. And with that fund, then the township can eventually someday construct it themselves or construct pathway connections in other parts of the township. But the reason my recommendation is to require installation at this time is that construction costs will only continue to go up.
Mhm.
And so even if the applicant were to deposit these funds today, it will cost the township more than that to install them itself tomorrow. We know that there has been a lot of activity in this area, and that it's likely that the sidewalk can begin to develop into a true network in the near future. And I say that lightly, as in the next 5, 10, 15 years. But, and I wish we had the screens tonight, I wasn't able to get that to work tonight, but if you go to the east of this site, if we're able to connect that sidewalk network all the way to the edge of the village, there's a fully developed
Yeah.
sidewalk network that folks can take to walk into town, to go to the car show, would reduce some of the vehicular traffic. And again, this is all
Yeah.
part of the master plan.
I feel like it'd be easier to get there to cross the road first, just because of the sites that are actually in place in between, you know what I mean, between the, you know, the actual existing sites, the storage lot and the consumer's station and everything else that's over there, like the gas and everything. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I just, you know, just making sure, you know, I could see it definitely going that way, and it does go right to the party store, and I could see access going to it. But I know that the sidewalk that you're talking about on the east side, there is one existing. It is all the way to the end, and then it's broken again by the apartment complex again. As in 10 to 15 years, much easier to go on the north side of the road. You'd be a lot faster getting to the car show. You know,
Well,
you know.
You know, with respect to that, with the way that the master plan lays out these as safety county routes, it does not designate, are we doing this on the north or the south, the east or the west? It just says along these corridors.
In the Hubble-Roth document, it talks about the safety path not being called out on the documents or the submitted drawings. Can that just be administratively handled, or? Because it has to show the easements from 15 foot according to section 14-137.A.
Yes. and
So
that's-
that'll be all wrapped up in that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So all of the comments you see on the engineer's report, when we say administrative approval, we won't sign off on that until it meets all the requirements. Because with an administrative approval, the idea is that it's a minor, more technical, clear-cut thing. There isn't a discretionary decision baked in there. It's sort of cut and dry. Because we're talking about, adding things to plans, this can be, when the applicant goes to submit their final plan set that goes on file with the township, we would want to see these things added before we accept it, and that acceptance would be the final step of their approval.
Okay. Thanks.
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
So to back up just a little bit, because on here you've got the cross access to the adjacent parcels, you're saying, is that part of the master plan as well?
So, cross-access isn't, I don't believe, specifically called out in the master plan. It may be. In this area, the future land use designation is the rural town center.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the intent and the design standards that go within that align with this Grange Hall overlay district.
Mm-hmm.
And so, vehicular cross-access may or may not be mentioned in the master plan explicitly, but the intent is that things are connected. You're
Mhm.
able to get through more easily because things are closer together. It's a walkable area. And now, again, that vision of this walkable area that you're crossing through places may not come to reality in this area for many years, but the idea is that a site may only come for the commission, and you may only have the opportunity to require these things every couple of decades. And
Mhm.
so now is the time to, again, incrementally bring the township closer to that vision.
Okay. I guess my concern then is if it possibly could be in the master plan, but we're, in this instance, saying, we can overlook it, kind of what we're saying. It's not strongly suggested. Why is it that the other parts of the sidewalk are being such a, no, we cannot overlook? I'm just asking for, because it kind of feels like a pick and choose what we're following in the master plan and what we're actually making stick.
Sure. So I'll actually pull up a pen right now because I have it here, and I think that's a great point. So,
I don't want it to look like we overlooked something, but we stuck on this one. Well, why? What's the discrepancy there is what I guess I'm getting at.
so I'm gonna look and see if cross-access and that idea of having the vehicular connections is mentioned in the plan. It might take a little to load here, but that's part of why this piece, the cross-access, is up for discussion. So it's something that, the way that the ordinance talks about it, setting aside the master plan for
we have any questions before we have the applicant? Because he did want to speak about some of the issues, right? Let's go ahead with that, and we might have you back up if we have more questions, so. We just need you to give your name and your address.
My name is John Costa. I'm an architect working with Jeff here on this project, and I was not at the previous meeting, but I'm here to answer any questions relative to the building, and then also a few comments, but you can clarify. So there's a special land use, there's two votes that are happening today. The special land use and the conforming use of the site. As you heard from Alexis, there were some modifications made to both the building drawings and the site drawings from when it was last presented. The building itself seems to have, all those issues are resolved. The site itself, we follow their recommendation as far as conditional approvals. It seems like there's a lot of question relative to the location of sidewalks and pathways, and there's a lot of things that the township, along with their engineers and future master plans, needs to be worked out still. And we'd hate for the building to be held up because of that. There were some couple of recommendations and provisions within the planner's review where it said you guys could defer those two items relative to the approval today. So that's what we're looking for, is at least conditional approval to move forward with the building. And then administratively or whatever process would be, work out that sidewalk issue.
Correct me if I'm wrong, really, the board, I think, all agreed we wanted sidewalks. It was just there's none other connecting to it now, so it was a question of what was required, whether it was asphalt or a concrete sidewalk, and I think most of that's been answered now.
And then you wanted to, and if the others you want to.
Do you want me to, do you mind?
No.
You have any trouble?
Introduce yourself.
Yep. Supposed to introduce yourself, sorry, yeah.
Jeff Jacobelli, owner of Crane Heating, the applicant.
Yep.
So, one thing I noticed since last time we were here is I looked at around the village of Holly, and there's a sidewalk currently that goes from just east of North Holly Road at Taco Bell, I think, travels all the way down and stops at the school. So that's almost halfway already. I looked at the limit, what might be involved with taking it from that direction all the way to my corner, and then turning north down Fish Lake Road, connecting to this other facility that's being built.
Trilogy, yeah.
So that seems like a pretty easy fix.
Right.
I mean, that would be the path. But now, it's been mentioned that it's required to go on both sides, and I'm not sure if that's written up, a safety path on both sides all the way, all around, because that safety path is traveling all over the
Right.
Holly Township. I've got the map, it goes in a lot of places. 2 8-foot pass on either side of Branch Hall Road seems excessive to me, but it's not me, and if they make me do it, and if this is where we go, if I have to do it, I will. But, I wanted to point that out. And the only other thing I want to say is, I did make a recommendation through email to Alexis, I think, where, I could build that structure for the dumpster out of the same material that the barn is made out of, so it wouldn't even look hardly like a dumpster enclosure. That could allow me to keep it there. But again, if you're gonna make, if it is, end up being I have to put it between the two buildings, which is I'm gonna lose function of that whole corner there. I'm not sure what I might do with it in the future, but, there's an overhead door there that's gonna be maybe useless or not as useful on that east side of the building. And so if we do put it there, that, I'll make it work, but I don't know if I wanna build the structure. I'm not sure what the cost is gonna be. If we're gonna put it between the two buildings, and we might just wrap it with, landscaping instead. So if we put it there in the middle of the building, I prefer to go landscaping potentially again. Whatever you guys think, whatever you come up with is what I'm gonna do, because I wanna move forward. But that was just my thoughts. And I'm done.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
You're welcome.
So, Alexis, do you want to follow up on that and review again what we're doing with the dumpster in his plans and what we're requiring, perhaps, so we're clear on that.
So if I could really quickly start
Hmm?
with the safety path. I
Oh,
just
sure,
wanna,
yep. Yes.
clear that up. So, I wish we had the screens,
Hmm.
but this is the safety path map that Jeff mentioned. It's in the master plan. These routes have actually been adopted by the township since even the previous master plan and potentially even the one before that. So, in the master plan, unfortunately, it does not denote, does this go on the north or south or the east or the west? It just notes what corridors these are planned for. And so, we can only go off of what we have. If in the future we wanted to do a master plan amendment to clarify this, when the master plan is updated again in a couple of years, clarify it, that's something that, you know, we could cross that bridge in the future, but because this request is in front of us right now, this is what I have to go off of. And so, I just, you know, wanted to mention that. And then.
I would like to say Grange Hall Road is busy enough, it would be nice to have on both sides of the road. Fish Lake Road isn't quite as busy, but still, his side of the road is one that really should be at least something there, if you chose the side of the road you had to do it on. So,
Yeah, and, you know,
there should be sidewalks all the way on Grange Hall Road. It's only been recently, the one that he talked about from North Holly Road to the school. It's been maybe 10 years now, but it's needed to be there for 30 or 40 years because the school, senior housing, the apartments across the road, very dangerous road to walk along. And we watch people walk along it over and over again, and we're just there. Yep.
and that's why they're called safety paths. Right? We want to give folks who know that people want to walk, and it wouldn't be in the plan if that wasn't the case. We've done in previous plan iterations, engagement, and there's always an opportunity for the public to come and speak and things like that. And so, again, I'm just going based off of the adopted master plan and the adopted ordinance.
But it is safe to say, though, that there should be like the crossing going from across Grange Hall Road. Eventually, there's gonna be a crossing, right? I know we gotta go through everybody, but wouldn't that still be like a partial heading that way and then stopping? Cause you know that's gonna be the first crossing that gets put in if there is any,
And do you mean?
you know, as in going from the south side to the north side of Grange Hall Road, yeah. It's going towards Trilogy, I guess, you know, to that, trying to connect that first dot.
Yeah, so then, once we cross into,
Yeah, because I know it doesn't have to go all the way into the right, you know, like into the road yet. You know, it can just be like, okay, we're heading this direction, and then when
so,
it's ready to take off.
pull up here, would that be,
Because I think anywhere else on that road, there's not anywhere to cross. I mean, we used to have the big bridge, you know, at the Patterson, and that's gone, so it's like, you know, where do you cross that road safely,
right.
you know?
So, I've got the plan set pulled up here, just to demonstrate, this diagonal line here is actually where the property line ends. So once you cross over that, you get into the road right of way. Part of why we can't necessarily require that it goes north at this time is because we're getting into the road commission jurisdiction and they will not allow the construction of what
Even that.
is shown here, for example, this landing pad. We may not even be able to have them construct this landing pad because there's not one on the other side. That's a road commission
Yeah.
requirement and regulation that, you know, it's sort of out of the township's hands. But again, as the sidewalk network fills in, that's something that, of course, we wanna, you know, have built and tied into, and whether that's through the township raising funds and having some additional funds on hand from, other sites where this is required and they opt to just deposit into a pathway fund someday. You know, that kind of remains to be seen. That's more of a township board administrative, type action where if the township continues to push for this as they, you know, follow and actualize the master plan, that's something that will absolutely should be addressed.
Okay.
And then, going back to the dumpster, Glenn, I think you had posed
I just want to clarify the two options, what he wants to do and what you're saying that he needs to do, I guess, is the question. Because it looked like that was two different things.
So, let's see, it might take me a moment to pull up, but I do have, it was a drawing that Jeff had submitted, sort of saying, could this other location work? It was down the side of the building, is that the
Oh,
location?
yeah, I was told since that, because of the turnaround, it required, that wasn't gonna happen.
Sure.
I didn't know,
Yes.
and it was the site guy, Keith Engineering, told me that wasn't gonna happen, so that was, we're done with that.
So you mean this location,
Uh,
where you
no,
originally?
that's where they originally put it, and that's where I would rather put it.
Yes, okay, that's what I wanted to.
Oh, okay, so
Yes,
sorry.
no, that's fine, thank you.
So he's wanting to keep it kind of in the current location, correct?
So currently there is no enclosure on the site. So the enclosure itself would be built from scratch. The originally proposed location was off of this access road or drive, right in front of both the buildings, which we would consider the front yard based on how it's defined in the ordinance. And my interpretation of the dumpster enclosure section, which is included in the review, the language is specific but a little bit vague. So for example, in other communities that I work in, it's very specific in saying the enclosure must be located in the rear yard. The rear yard is a defined area of the site. Whereas in our ordinance, it says, containers and enclosures shall be located away from public view insofar as possible. So it's not really specific about it needs to be in the rear yard or the side yard. It cannot be in the front yard. But my interpretation of shall be located away from public view is that it's not in front of the buildings, it's not located in the front yard. Now,
Which is really difficult on a corner lot, though, to be out of public view. I mean, you're more than half of the building, or more than half the lot is public view, so I mean, it really,
of course.
really limits.
And,
With that wording.
This is something that I've now flagged for when we update the ordinance, that we wanna be specific about that, and addressing things for corner lots is always complicated with an ordinance because of the two things.
Right.
And so, when it comes to this site though, the plans that show the relocation, which I've got a clearer version of that here. So these were submitted in July with the relocated enclosure between the buildings. To me, this complies with the ordinance, whereas the original submission does not. And so, as a planning commission, something like this isn't typically a discretionary decision. It must comply with the ordinance. If there's a different proposed location, we went back and forth on another one that sounds like won't work either, then that's something that I'm recommending could be figured out administratively. Again, part of the conditional approval recommendation is that we can work out some of these technical things now that the more discretionary items like the architectural design, the appropriateness of the use in the first place, which is the special use permit, those, I believe, compliance has been achieved. By allowing administrative approval of the ultimate location of the dumpster and the ultimate dimensions and construction specifications of the pathway allows them to keep moving through the process and not have to wait again to come back to the commission afterward. This is just my recommendation, and so I'm happy to answer more questions and.
The only thing I'd be worried about is administratively, they may have problems with it, where if it's set now, then he knows what he can do. Because administrative may not go the way the board would actually go, I guess I would say. So that would be the only downside to that happening. So again, what are you really suggesting they do? What he's suggesting is between the buildings now, or still back to the location on this, basically on the side near Fish Lake Road?
It sounds like he's asking for the side near the road, so located up.
Similar to where it's at now, then, correct?
So right now, there's no enclosure.
Yep,
There
I know.
Where
is
the
a
dumpsters are.
Where the
itself.
dumpster is.
The
Yeah.
dumpster itself actually sits in between the buildings, as far as I understand.
Dumpster now sits where the new addition is going.
Oh,
Where
so
the
it has to
is
move it,
going.
okay, so he has to move it from that site then at least.
I've got a question for Jeff, if you wouldn't mind.
So you got there?
Yep.
Yes, please, just so everybody can hear. I know that you're putting aside, I'm gonna call it not a utility door, but a full-service door on the side of the building, is that correct? Are you bringing the parking lot back to it? So you're not, so it's not gonna be intended to be able to drive back to it to, like, load or unload materials or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
What happens, we have another shop in Waterford.
Mhm.
We have a lot of doors for the guys to travel in and out of while they're loading and unloading in the morning.
Gotcha.
And when they all come in at the same time, there's a lot of traffic. And to have them all come out of one overhead door, a little more difficult. And, I mean, I'm not really sure how
Right.
we're gonna use that door on the side, but I put it there only because I knew that we could do something.
Options
because
for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's right between the two buildings.
And I think if and what my brain is going to is, the dumpster being in between the buildings, if you ever to asphalt that, obviously it would make sense to move it back so you have access to that
Yeah, that's
side.
wonderful. I would like to do that.
Right, and
Potentially, you're right. But right now with that dumpster between the two buildings, there's actually a deck there as well that you need to go to the front door of the office.
gotcha.
There's approximately 5 to 6 feet between the dumpster and the two buildings.
Right.
It's a little tight.
It's a little tight when you go building, okay, okay,
Yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I'm pushing this, if I
Right.
can, I will deal with it.
okay.
What's that?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
If I could speak to that briefly. That was something that Jeff and I had discussed. He brought up the overhead door on that eastern facade. But I wanna just mention that because this is being built, this addition in that overhead door is being built today, it's not existing. We can't necessarily go against the ordinance for the dumpster enclosure for something, we would be creating a non-conformity. So if the dumpster is located in the front yard and we allow that, you would be directly going against the ordinance and creating a non-conformity with that for something that could theoretically be designed differently for better use. So, for example, an additional overhead door could go on western facade, or, that's really up to the applicant and their designers, but I just wanna mention that for your consideration, best practice and decision-making for planning and zoning, that when you're building something new, we need it to be in compliance with all of our current ordinances, or else we're allowing a non-conformity, which is technically illegal. So I just wanna mention that. Again, the ordinance is vague on dumpster enclosure location to an extent, but my belief is that the location out where he's asking for does not meet that standard.
So we're still back to allowing administrative approval with conditional on administrative approval.
That's my recommendation.
And there is places that he can put it that would be approved. Because again, you've got two roadways, so you've got two frontages where some buildings only have one, so it does make it harder to put it, let's say, behind the buildings, kind of. And you always have to have access for the trucks. That's the thing I worry about with some locations, is you might not be able to access safely, perhaps, or,
And then with this parking.
yeah.
And that's something that the fire chief looks at. We make sure that there's turning radius is ample, and that those are all considerations that would be made as we work through an
Can use that
administrative
for
approval
parking.
for
so I guess asking for the board their thoughts on, because I think we need to deal with whether it's just going to be administrative later or whether we want to give more direction at this time. Leslie, what's your feeling? You're the one that commented we have lots of frontage to it, so how do you get behind a building when it's mostly frontage?
I feel moving forward with the administrative leniency on it, I guess, is where I'm at, just because our ordinance is so vague and so gray, it's really hard to say whether or not, I mean, I guess, yes.
Yeah.
It's not following it if it's over there, but I don't see where, there's only like literally one specific place for that lot that it's not gonna be, you know, in
Right.
public view. So, yeah.
Mike, anything?
I think handing it to the administrative, is probably the best way to go.
Okay, Ben?
You know, I think it's
It
gonna
complies.
get them to where they wanna be faster and get that barn built, so I think that'd be the best bet.
Derek?
Yeah, I'm fine with administrative. I think if the dumpster doesn't there, it sounds like he's gonna make sure it looks pretty to match the rest of his building. He's not gonna do all this and have a green dumpster sitting in the middle of nowhere, so. But yeah, administratively, should decide.
And they will still have to have enclosure, correct? There's not much debate about
Sounds like a
that.
very
It'll be
nice one,
enclosed.
actually. It's probably nicer than most.
Yeah.
And
is
it's
what
not
he's
a
proposing.
restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chuck? what's your-
Scrap, it's gonna be scrap materials too, so you're, knowing that it's up to the front, I think is gonna be aesthetically okay, and the type of material that you're putting in there is not gonna be the type of material that would create
Eyesore.
an eyesore, exactly, so it is gonna be enclosed, I think that's administratively, that's fine, because I think that will satisfy what we already have in place, and while it's not the most practical, obviously, being on the left side would be more practical, or technically it'd be the right side looking for the front of the building. But being in between actually it satisfies what it needs to for us, and yet still makes it feasible, so you're not incurring a whole lot of expense, maybe a small, like you said, modification on the deck, to be able to make sure you have the clearance for the fire department, that 5 or 6 foot.
Make that a maybe, I guess, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And you need to step up to the, I guess you're probably right.
Right, and then administratively, I think that could be reviewed and just approved, and I feel like that makes sense. That way we could, allowing you to move forward and, you know, get it done, because we are excited about seeing it too, so that's my feeling on it.
So I'm going to poll the board again, but what I see is we have conditional approvals based on administrative, for both pathway, sidewalk, and the dumpster location, correct? That's kind of the way we've gone towards.
Yes, and I did include some motion language,
Nobody wants to read that whole page. Page and a half. All right, back to Leslie. Is there any other questions or anything else we need to discuss on this?
No.
Mike?
No, I'm good.
Ben?
I'm all set.
Derek?
Good?
Chuck? All right, who wants to read all that?
Got it.
I'll do it, that's fine.
Let's see.
All right. But we have to do this in proper order,
Yeah,
right?
special land use
Right.
condition approval of the site plan, correct? That was one of the things. So we start with that, and then we,
And which one is that? The special land use motion language?
yep, special land.
And then where's the,
Should be on the.
just this
the motion.
recommendation?
That would be the
recommended
first
page.
one for the special land use.
Yep.
I think
Oh, it's on the
yeah,
back, okay,
Yeah.
site plan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There you go. And
First
then
one
the
is the
site plan.
doozy.
First one's a doozy, okay. My best radio voice. All, is everybody set?
Yep,
Great. Okay. I motion to grant special land use approval for a heating and cooling contractor operation considered a general building and landscape contractor's offices and yards in the zoning ordinance at 3008 Grange Hall Road, parcel ID number 01-28-302-012, contingent on the following conditions. 1, approval of the associated site plan and submission for its request is attained. This is based upon the following findings of fact. 1, consistency with the adjacent properties. The proposed heating and cooling contractor operation is consistent with the character and the intent of the general commercial district, which is intended to provide a district in which the community's regional, commercial, and business facilities can be centralized to the most efficiently serve the township and surrounding areas. That's a heck of a sentence. The use is compatible with the adjacent commercial developments and particularly nearby contractors' offices in the vicinity. 2, consistency with the master plan. The proposed heating and cooling contractor operations are consistent with the site's future land use designation of rural town center in the township's 2024 master plan. 3, consistency with the Grange Hall Fish Lake Overlay District. The proposed use and the physical improvements to the site bring the property closer to the compliance with the Grange Hall Fish Lake Overlay District, while the building is set back and not mixed use in nature, given that it was a reoccupation of an existing building, and the proposed landscaping pathway and facade upgrades will greatly improve the character and the aesthetic of the site. 4, infrastructure exists to support the project. The proposed use is expected to be adequately served by existing public utilities and infrastructure without negatively impacting service levels for surrounding properties. 5, vehicular access is proposed. Vehicular access, the proposed use includes access from Fish Lake and Grange Hall roads and is not expected to create a major traffic concerns.
Do we have a second, or do you want him to read it again?
I'll do it better the next time.
Sure about paragraph, no. I'll second.
Chuck seconded it. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Same sign. Motion pass. On to the site plan.
You're doing so well, you gotta keep going.
Keep going, okay.
Oh, this is really
That one
short compared to the other one.
That one made me a little dizzy, so. Okay. I move to approve the site plan for the heating and cooling contractor operation considered a general building and landscape contractor's offices and yards in the zoning ordinance at 3008 Grange Hall Road, parcel ID 01-28-302-012, contingent on the following conditions. 1, approval of the associated special use permit for this request is obtained. 2, administrative approval of the final plans is attained to address the following items for compliance. 1, materials and additional construction details for the proposed pathways. 2, dumpster enclosure, material and side setback between the proposed enclosure, office, and pole barn addition. And 3, the photometric plan is updated to reflect the newly proposed sconces. And 3 is just an underline.
Yes.
We don't need to add anything to that, correct? That's, yep. So is there a second on that?
I'll second it.
Second by Chuck. Any further discussion? Those in favor of approving the site plan, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passed.
Thank you for your
Yep.
time, everyone.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
All right, on to reports.
Yeah, you're.
Yep, you can go. It's not gonna be too much longer, I can tell you that anyway, so.
There ain't nothing there, so.
Yep. So is there any reports by the board? Ray wanted to invite people to the 19th, Friday the 19th. They're having a dinner at Curtin Lumber, a free lunch, I think it's called, so. Anyway, that, I think, is the only thing I have. Any public comment? Yep, just need your name and your address.
Tom Metz, 3402 Rig Road, aka County Line. I'm here referencing the Joshua Chef F campground proposal on the north end of the township. You know, I can't ask any questions if they answer. But I would like to have an update on any actions he may have taken since his application expired, which has been several months ago.
Just say the planning commission has not seen anything during that whole time.
Yeah, you have to go to the offices
Karen,
and ask
I
the
guess it's-
administration.
Been in my office, he has not.
I know it's been a while since
Yeah, so no,
so, yeah, I don't think.
you give another notice if he does.
All right? Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? You're here for the same kind of issue, right? All right. No other public comment? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, sure.
Motion by Derek. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ben? Motion adjourned. I don't think you have to have a vote on it, supposedly. Hey, we should, supposed to. We didn't.
Thanks again for a good meeting. Well done.
Well, thank you for reading those.
motion.
I was gonna say, you did most
We
of
have
it.
oxygen
I
over
used to
here.
do radio point today
Thanks.
at that radio station.
I used to. Yeah, I was on a radio.
Really?
Yeah, a long time ago.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except I tested. I went in to audition for like a real radio station because it was a little AM station.
Yeah.
And there's two pretty girls there interviewing me, and I was reading it, and I almost made it through, and they started like going, and they threw me off, and I missed a word, and they're like, "Yep, sorry." So the test was if I could read it through without any flubs, I was
With
moving
pretty
on
girls.
to the next station.
Oh, man.
And I got distracted by the pretty girls.
They did you dirty.
Yeah. And they were really upset too. I'm like, "Can I do it again?" They're like, "No, that's the rules. You're not robotic enough."
Who would have known?
See you guys,
Next month.
here.
Yep, there was one dead deer in my office parking driveway on Sunday mornings. But there's several more there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recommendation from our attorney to have those copies of that, and let's see if there's a way to tighten it up, because if there's not.
If it's not, there's not, but it's
Yeah,
hard
she
to
says
say.
it's,
I know.
it's on the lawsuit.
into the record,
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, so it's, and it's because of lawsuits, recent lawsuits that, so, and she's ever the state bar, so she's kind of in the know, so.
Leslie, did you
We
hear
can talk to
did
her
you
on
see
it
the-
again, but
Yeah.
the
we'll
report
take the recommendations.
on Charles? What's his name? He was shot and killed today.
The Charlie Kirk, yeah. No.
Kirk.
Yeah,
Well, I saw it on Facebook.
yeah,
I saw the actual
yeah.
footage of him getting shot and the
It's
blood
horrible.
squirting out.
Oh, yeah,
And I thought it was fake.
yeah.
No.
And because I happened to just glance through and I thought it was, I'm like, it's one of those fake
It's an
posts.
image I wish I would've
Didn't
never
even
seen.
think anything of it. Looked at it twice, and this is obviously he's dead. And that was the only caption. And I thought, oh, somebody's just being a jerk, you know? And then I get home, because I'd been on the road all afternoon, and I get home and I'm like, oh my God, that actually really happened.
Yeah, no.
Sick, just terrible.
Oh, my grandson, he's only 14, called me, Grandma. Yeah, he was so upset.
Oh, that was so sad.
I watched him on the daily, I mean, he was one of the, he's a good, watch.
How he really cares for youth,
Yeah.
young adults, and just.
The young conservative, I mean, at 18, dropped out of college.
You
started that whole
think for
movement.
yourself, smart, exactly.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, you'd say, you know, they come back with all these different things, and people, okay, now explain to me what that means, and they'd be like, because they just heard rhetoric before,
Yeah.
they're just spewing it. And
Yes.
go to the master plan, to the ordinance, so that, okay, that clears that, so it's not vague and indescriptive. And again, and you and I were talking not too, maybe a year ago, when you don't handle anything for the longest time, you get done and you go,